Welcome to Balanced Life, Happy Life, where we offer solutions to the health challenges most people experience on a regular basis. And we welcome you to discover our simple and vibrant way to live a more balanced and happy life. Every Tuesday, remember, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the topic of today is air matters. And along with that, we want to emphasize the importance of prevention that can help us not only take care of our body's health, but in the financial aspect too. So prevention is better than cure. So today we will show you how we can do this. Through five vital elements, we can target prevention: air, water, sleep, nutrition, and natural energies to help us to feel and be in harmony with nature. Niken is continually adding new products and technology to the wellness home. Be part of this important movement and start your Niken Wellness Home if you haven't done it yet. Today we'll feature air, and sometimes all you need is a little fresh and clean air. For this gathering, please welcome Dr. Liliana Warner.
Thank you, Ruben. All right, so I'm just gonna share my screen, everybody, and we'll dive right in. All right, so just move things around here 1 second. All right, sorry, my computer just uploaded new stuff and I don't know how anything works. So bear with me 1 second. There we go. All right, so diving right in. So as you know, this is the Balanced Life, Happy Life weekly gathering. And we're going to be talking about air, as Ruben just mentioned. And so we're going to dive right into this topic if we can. There we go. Okay, so we already saw this slide, but I want to just comment on it a little bit more than what Ruben did. And so, Ruben mentioned that we look from Niken at both prevention and addressing issues, right? So we want to really tackle health from all sides. And so I love how Niken has split up their products in these like 5 categories. So I like to look at it like these are the 5 categories that create a balanced life, right? Part of what we're talking about today. So air, which we're going to talk about in depth in a moment, water, which is crucial, and not just drinking water, but showering water and the water you wash your vegetables in and everything, right? So that's super important. And obviously we have a whole nother talk on that. Sleep, vital for health. And then we have nutrition for what I call with my patients inside wellness. And then we have the natural energy products for outside wellness. All put together, we create a whole wellness lifestyle and a wellness home. All right, so what exactly is a Niken Wellness Home? So if you're new to Niken, you might not have heard this wellness home concept. So a Niken Wellness Home transforms your living spaces into a safe haven, a place that not only supports better health and energy, but promotes balance and well-being. So Niken often talks about the wellness home as a greenhouse for humans, which I just love so much because that's such a perfect description, right? A greenhouse is somewhere where the thing living in it thrives and grows and becomes more of itself. And that's really what Niken looks to do and help support in all of us. And so again, as Ruben said, my name is Dr. Liliana Warner, and I'm a chiropractor, and I own Lotus of Life Chiropractic in Decatur, Georgia, which is near Atlanta. And I have been in practice 17 years, and for 15 of those, I've been promoting and sharing Niken products with my patients. I love, love, love the mission of the company. I love how sound they are with their science and how they really bring that forward in the products that they put out. And I also really love and appreciate how good they are at keeping up with the research and always making new products that fulfill what we know about how we can do better. And so, when you know more, you should share more. And that's really what I see Niken doing. So I really love that. And so one of my favorite products that they've had since the start, when I first started with them, is the air purifiers. So we're going to take a little dive here on why air matters. And we're going to start with talking about outside air, right? Because when we talk about air quality, most of us think about whether we live, out in nature and maybe on a farm or in the woods and what our air is like, or if we live in a city like this background, right? And so let's just look at some facts real quick before we talk about what to do about this. So air pollution is the 4th highest risk factor for death globally, and by far the leading environmental risk factor for disease. I actually got into chiropractic because I was severe asthmatic as a child. And I wish that I had known some of this information when I was younger, and I could have done something about that environment when I was younger, right? But we just didn't know. And there's such better information these days about, what to avoid and how to keep your air clean around you, at least where you can affect it. So more about outside air, nationwide studies show that when particulate matter in air pollution goes up, premature death goes up. That is hugely important. So we've heard a lot more about particulate matter in the last couple of years, right? And even with the SARS-CoV-2, the last several years, one of the things they know is that travels more and gets captured more in those air particulates. And so in more densely polluted areas, we see more things like COVID because of the density of the air itself. So this is a really important factor. And if you live in one of those areas, it becomes even more important for you to handle the air that you can affect. So last quote here, despite decades of environmental efforts, over 40% of Americans, more than 137 million people, live in cities and states with poor air quality. That's a lot of people, right? And so we have lots of people to share this information with that really, really need it. Okay, so we always talk about outside air quality, but I want to talk a little bit about indoor air. And if you didn't know, it actually can be much more dangerous than outdoor air. So the air within our homes and other buildings can be more seriously polluted than the outdoor air, even in the largest and most industrialized cities, which is just totally disturbing thought to think about. Because if we just said how dangerous the air outside is, and now we're telling you that the air inside can be even worse, there's a bigger problem than we knew, right? So 50% of all illness is aggravated by polluted indoor air. So I see this all the time in practice. People will even say things to me like, I'm fine until I lay down to go to bed at night, right? And what we don't realize is that and we're going to look at this in more detail in a minute, but even our mattresses, if they're not made out of good material that, kills stuff off and are self-cleaning, if you will, that they just trap microbes and trap dust and pollen and all these things. And if we're not actively cleansing our air, then the fabrics and the things around us trap all those particulates, and then we're sleeping in that, right? And so when we're talking about health affecting your air in a positive way, actually does more than just for the air. It also affects the other things that would capture that stuff if you weren't cleaning it. So that's superbly important. So pollutants can be 2 to 5 times higher inside than outside. And this is because we circulate our air through our home, but we don't often, because we think of the outdoors being polluted maybe, is open our doors and actually air out the home, if you will. And so because we spend nearly 90% of our time indoors, whether that's at home or in school or at an office, it's really important that we're really actively cleansing that air, both through nature and on our own through purifiers, which we'll look at in a minute. Okay, so what are some of the things that we need to be thinking about inside the house then? Because you can control how bad or how good your air is inside your home. So this is a great little graphic here, talks a lot, shows you a lot of different things about what you want to think about. So we're going to start on this like top right section. So heating and air conditioning. So you have to think about things like pollen and mold spores, pet hair and dander, which if you're not actively collecting that in some way, then it's just everywhere in the air and in the house, right? And then the air pollution that comes in through the outdoors. So while we can air out a house, if you will, to some degree, we are also then bringing that air pollution in. So it's hard to know which is worse there, right? That does at least circulate it now and then. Okay, so right below that, we see household products. So this is going to be things like solvents, insecticides, herbicides, cleansers, disinfectants. So choosing, more natural products cuts down on the amount of toxins that are then going into your air when you clean. So that's a really important one. Top left here, construction and furniture materials. So if you don't know, a lot of what we use to build our homes and to build the furniture and rugs, everything that we bring into our homes to make it cozy, actually are made of or covered with often toxic chemicals, things like fire retardants and that sort of thing that keep us safe, yet are really toxic. So some of those would be things like lead and formaldehyde, especially if you have an older home, volatile organic compounds, adhesives, finishes, paints, different things like that. So definitely if you're going to be painting your house at this point, pick a no VOC paint. So you're cutting down on those fumes as much as possible. So right underneath that, we see the section that says carpeting, clothing, and bedding. This is going to be stuff, again, like I hinted at a minute ago, dust, fibers, old odors, cleaning and preservative chemicals, all sorts of different things like that. Those fire retardants come in again when we're talking about things like bedding, right? Okay, so in the kitchen, you might be making the most delicious food ever and showing off your cooking skills. And some of those vapors and odors could actually be toxic. So this is a really important thing to know. You want to make sure that you have good ventilation in the kitchen for sure. Food waste can also create issues. As it, if it sits a long time and it's fermenting, say, doing different things as the food does when it sits for a long time, that really can make scents and different things go into the air that aren't going to be pleasant for your nose or for your breathing. So you want to really think about that. Make sure you have a lid on that trash can, keep compost enclosed, all of that. And then also just the cooking itself and what that does, right? Obviously, we all know if there's smoke related to cooking, that's not a good thing, but it's not just the smoke. It's also just the oil cooking and all of that, right? So just things to think about. We definitely keep an air purifier by the kitchen. Bathrooms, we do deep cleaning of bathrooms, probably more than anywhere else in the house. And so we want to definitely think about the different disinfectants we're using in there and try to get the most natural thing that's still effective. We also use other products in there, things like aerosols. You might get sewage gas coming from your pipes, right? Mildew, chloroform from chlorinated water. And if you don't know, when you take chlorine and heat it up, you get toxic fumes that are actually cancerous. So it's really important that you're also taking the chlorine out of your water as much as possible. So that's for a different discussion when we talk about water, but it's really important that if you're not cleansing the chlorine out, that you are at least using an air purifier in that space to help get those fumes away. Okay, so symptoms of poor indoor air quality can include a lot of things, right? It can be things like headaches, eye irritation, fatigue, dry throat, sinus congestion, dizziness, nausea. It's interesting that sometimes I'll have a patient comes in who has all of those things, right? And it's interesting because much like the pharmaceutical ads you see on TV. Like there can be like a list of things that describe a disorder or a disease, right? But it really also could just be the air quality in your home, which is kind of a scary thought. But if you look at all the different rooms that we just talked about, and then you add some of these things, pollen, animal hair, dander, tobacco, if someone around you smokes, just everyday cooking and cleaning, all of those things build up to create an environment, if we're not actively cleansing that can be really, really dangerous for your health. And these are pretty mild symptoms, actually, for what can show up if you have really bad air quality. So, but these are kind of the most common ones we see kind of in everyday discussions about air quality and how it can affect us. Okay, so let's talk about what you can do to help reduce that indoor air pollution. So we talked about lots of scary things that are going to be in your home. So what do you do about those, right? So first of all, don't store any chemicals, solvents, glues, pesticides in your house, right? Find a nice safe outside space for that, something like a back shed, right? So minimize the risk of deadly carbon monoxide gas by properly maintaining and venting heating equipment, wood stoves, fireplaces, chimneys, vents, all those things, and by installing carbon monoxide alarms on every level of your home. Because again, most of you probably know this, but that's a thing that you won't know is going on without an alarm until it's late in the game, right? So you don't want to be having anyone in your house inhaling carbon monoxide, right? So remove sources of air contaminants. So you can actually buy organic furniture that's not treated with chemicals and avoid harsh chemical air fresheners and cleaning products. So a couple notes on this. Niken has amazing sleep systems that you can utilize. I love them. I've had one forever. Wouldn't go anywhere without it. I do, in fact, bring my products with me when I travel. I'm actually leaving town tomorrow and packing up my car with all my Niken Wellness Home stuff and taking it where I'm going, because I literally think it's that important that I don't travel without it. So you can buy organic stuff that helps cut down on that, especially in the space that you sleep in. That's really, really important. It's hard to do your healing when you're sleeping if your body's fighting what's around it. So you can also avoid harsh chemical air fresheners. You can use something like essential oils instead. They do just as well a job and they don't hurt your lungs, right? And definitely avoiding harsh chemical cleaning products. So don't idle your car, run fuel burning power equipment, or light a barbecue grill in your garage, basement, or confined space. Now, this might seem obvious, but it's amazing how often this kind of thing happens and accidents happen because somebody did something in a confined space because it was raining and so, or something, right? And so they didn't do it outside and accidents happen, and we don't want anyone inhaling those kinds of fumes because it could be really dangerous. And the smaller the body, like a pet or a child, the more dangerous that becomes, right? So these are all things that the EPA recommends that you look at when you're thinking about indoor air pollution. Their last recommendation, and certainly my first, is that you clean the air using air filters, because that's going to be the only way to know that your air in your space that you live and breathe and sleep in is safe. Okay. So next we're going to talk about a little bit about what to look for in an air purifier, right? So definitely you want a portable unit. That's the first thing to think about. And the reason for that is you want to be able to move it around and you want it to be nice and light so you can move it where you need it, right? So we have one, for example, in the main room, the main living room next to our kitchen. And when we're cooking, we just move it around the corner so it's closer to right where we're cooking, right? It's one big open room, but we want it really able to do its job. We also want high efficiency filtration. That's what's recommended. So HEPA or better, right? Good luck finding anything better, but I guess it does exist. And so 0.3 microns or less, right? And so we want to be able to capture those small particles, viruses, bacteria, carbon dust, combustion, smoke, all those really fine particles. So a HEPA filter is like what's used in the, in the hospital, for example, right? So that's really what you want. And so that's excellent. You also want to avoid air filters that deliberately produce ozone. So sometimes you'll see companies advertise like that they, generate ozone or they're ionizers. And really, that's not a good thing. We do not want ozone in our direct environment. So you obviously want it to be cost effective, and you definitely want it to be quiet. The last thing you want to be thinking about when you're relaxing, trying to go to bed at night, is the noise of your air purifier, right? So you definitely want that to be something in the background that you're not thinking about, right? Also, you want something that's easy to use and easy to maintain. Okay. So the Kenko air purifier this is the name of the Niken air purifier, and it fits the bill. Right? So all those things that we just talked about, so portable, high efficiency, HEPA filter, not ozone created, cost effective and quiet, easy to operate and maintain, all fit our filter. And I think at the end, Ruben might go over, there's a special running right now through Niken on the air filtration systems. And we'll have Ruben just remind us of what that looks like if you're in the market to pick one up soon. And there it is. Great. So we'll, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Ruben, you're silenced.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Liliana. Sorry, I was going off and I didn't realize that. So thank you. So it is 45% off right now, the Kenko air purifier. So please take advantage of this great deal. The Kenko air purifier, the regular price is $863. Now, just for a couple of days until the last day of the month, so you will get it for $479. So for Canada, retail price is 1,133 Canadian dollars, and right now you can get it until Friday for 623 Canadian dollars. So it is really easy. Go to your back office, go through the Yes My Wellness Home and share the link. The only way your customer will get this special deal is if you send the link. So and then if you have any question, please feel free to call the call center. They will help you there if you still have some issues regarding the link. So it's really easy. Just go to the back office, Yes My Wellness Home link, and share this wonderful special with 45% off. So Dr. Liliana, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I'm so excited that Niken's doing this special right now, because that is an amazing price.
Keep in mind, next week is going to be Dr. Gary Liebner, Royal Diamond, and the topic is going to be Wellness Home, why everyone needs one. So see you next Tuesday, and thank you very much. Goodbye.
Awesome. Thank you.